Who's gonna do that? Let me show you the first thing you do with Zendesk tags. You go here at the top 4 squares to admin center, and then you go to objects and rules, and then you go to ticket settings here, and then you scroll down here where it says tags, and by default this will be enabled, like enable tags on tickets. And what you do is, yes, you keep that, but you enable automatic tagging. Now what this does, it eliminates the possibility of your agents adding tags. Hi there, my name is Dominic, 12 years as Zendesk consultant with Zendesk partners, and we bring value into the sphere trying to keep systems not bloated. If you don't want to trust somebody's 20,000 hours plus experience, that's fine. You go do you, boo-boo. But after you bash your head, you can come back to this video and smash the like button. In this video, we're going to look at expert opinion on best practice with tags in Zendesk. First thing you do is you use simple descriptive names. These should be concise and meaningful. For example, IT_support. Don't try to be a smartass and say tech bros or developer geniuses or whatever you think is quirky and creative. Don't do that. Number one, because you'll forget, because there's going to be so many other things you're going to have to remember. And two, if you ever leave your job and somebody else has to come in, then they're going to have a really bad time. Another thing you can do is to be consistent and avoid synonyms. For example, if you have a tag sales and then you have sales_request, just choose one, whichever one you prefer. The simpler one if you want. Use that one. No spaces or special characters. Zendesk doesn't allow crazy characters and it always defaults to the underscore. So if you leave a space, be wary that Zendesk will just add an underscore on your behalf. Another thing you can use if you have to use tags, use prefixes and categories. For example, type_feature. type_billing, etc. And my final best tip for this first category is avoid using tags altogether. Just don't use them. You just complicate yourself. What you want is to have a clean system and you want to have good reporting. So just use dropdowns from custom fields that you created in your forms. If you're thinking about tags for reporting, no, try thinking about dropdowns. Much easier, much less hassle. Next chapter is using tags in business rules like macros, triggers, and automations. Use macros to add tags. This creates coherence because everybody will be using the same taxonomy and the same names for tags, and it's great. So use a macro to add tier2_escalation. Automate tag application and removal. Bear in mind that if you add a tag to an organization, whenever somebody from that organization writes to you and creates a ticket, automatically the tags from that organization are added to the ticket. It's the same with end users. So a customer of yours, if you add a tag to them like VIP customer, that tag will automatically get added to any ticket that this customer creates from the moment you add the tag. You also might know that custom fields add tags as well. Custom fields like dropdowns and multi-line, these all add tags to tickets automatically. Automations also add tags. One-time versus persistent tags. It's important for you to distinguish permanent tags that should remain there and ones that are only specific to workflows. And let me give you an example. For example, you need to escalate a ticket to tier 2. Right? So you add a tag, tier 2 escalation, right? You are an agent and you add it with a macro. Now you have a trigger that looks for that tag. And if that tag is present and added to a ticket, then it should assign it to the group tier 2 and then it should add a priority to the ticket, for example. Now, whenever this workflow is finished, you might consider adding a trigger that removes this tag. Why would you want to do that? Well, because you can start the process all over again. This can be assigned now to billing group, but if it still carries the tag, then the trigger that we talked about earlier will assign it back to the tier 2 group. And you can see how, for example, this will start adding bloat to your system if you don't remove it, because people will have to look for workarounds to bypass this issue because they want to send it to the billing team and then the billing team says, I can't see it. Obviously they can't because that trigger that we talked about earlier. Use add versus set tags correctly. Now you have to understand the distinction between these two. Add tags, it means it just adds more tags to the ones already existent. While set tags means that it comes in with a brush, deletes everything and adds the tag that you set it to, and that's it. So you lose everything. How should you organize tags to avoid bloat and clutter? One is the thing that we talked about in the beginning of the video. Allow certain people to add tags, not everybody else. Then use custom fields and macros as proxies for tags. Add tags with these ones and remove tags with these ones as well. Never by hand. Number 3 is you have a consistent taxonomy, which means you use the same names all the time. You don't get creative with tags and everybody adds whatever tag that they want in the system trying to say the same thing. So just one, it's being used all the time. Number 4, avoid the tag bloat. Avoid using too many tags. If you have over 100 tags in your system, just try to rethink. Why do I have so many? Do I really need as many? Number 5, define tag purpose. I know this sounds boring as hell and like, who's gonna do that? Well, you should consider doing it. If you want to have a consistent naming and you want to make sure that you remember what everything does, then you have to keep that somewhere. I already mentioned this in the video. Like, you already have enough on your plate and you have to remember so many exceptions and so many rules that at one point you'll forget. Not only that, if you leave your job and somebody else has to come in, they won't know what the hell is going on. As a long-term best practice, what I can recommend is to assign ownership to somebody that documents these and keeps them in check, and that's the only person that does that. So if you want to keep things organized and documented, you can have a tag dictionary. This is where you keep all your tags, all their meanings and taxonomy, and keep everything organized and everybody in the loop. Now, in the description of this video, I have one for you. So you can just click that and you can just request access to that file and it's yours. You can just use it afterwards and thank me later. Now, another thing that I have to tell you is, you have to have regular audits and cleanups, but you don't do that. You just forget about it and you add on top of it and then you come to us. It's okay. That's how we get a livelihood and I don't mind it, but get an audit, do some cleanup. It's like cleaning your house. Your house, you don't keep it smelly and ugly, you clean it. So it's the same with the system. Training for your team, well, you don't really have to do that because if you don't allow them to add tags and you just tell them to use macros that assign tags automatically so they don't have to, that's fine. So the training is minimal, like the way that I've made this video for you, and it's going to make your life easier. And another tip that I have to tell you is to not rely on tags for reports because these can easily skew your reports because the tag, like we've mentioned a few examples, can just carry over on a ticket and not be relevant anymore. Like tier 2 escalation, it might have just gone to 2 different other teams and it doesn't show up in those other teams. It just shows for tier 2 escalation. You don't rely on a tag to be consistent with the number of tickets that come into the system because it will confuse the heck out of you. Try using drop downs. Use those like they are your god for reporting. That's what makes report efficient. And I'll make another video on best practices for that too. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.